Hi everybody. So today I want to talk about the roots of rhythm changes and how it's all grounded in two things that guitarists absolutely love: blues and riffs. Hello, welcome to Jazz Guitar Scrapbook. Please feel free to like and subscribe and give me all of your money. So today we're going to talk about the roots of rhythm changes, which actually isn't really, in my opinion, George Gershwin's I Got Rhythm, although that's certainly the basis of the form, but actually more the riff tune, which is a thing that came in really in the late 1930s and 40s, where basically people would play something like rhythm changes, often with a different B section, and it would be basically using a riff, a repeated musical idea, or more often layered musical ideas. And this is part of the classic sound of the big band. If you think of things like Jumping at the Woodside by the Basie Band, or Christopher Columbus by Fletcher Henderson, things like that, this is the kind of sound: wailing trumpets and saxes over a pumping rhythm section. And that was the dance music of the time. Of our references today are going to be people like Lester Young and Charlie Christian, but also the great big bands: Jimmy Lunsford, Fletcher Henderson, of course, Benny Goodman, Count Basie Orchestra, and of course Glenn Miller. But you know, those guys, right? And I think it's a way of getting away from this very chordal approach to rhythm changes, which of course became a big thing during the bop era. But actually you can still hear players such as Dexter Gordon on things like Second Balcony Jump taking a more bluesy approach. And I would like you to think of rhythm changes more as a kind of 8-bar blues with a rhythm, an 8-bar blues with a middle section, rather than just like, oh my goodness, there's 8 million chords and I have to play a different scale for each one. Nonsense, you don't have to do that. Okay, so there's basically two kinds of riffs. There's bass riffs and there's kind of melody instrument riffs. So I want to look at the melody instrument riffs first, because this is something you can use right away to inform the way you improvise and write even over rhythm changes. So I'm going to start with Lester Leaps In, which is an absolute classic. Now, this is like basically it's based on the B flat major pentatonic, and if you noticed I was adding in a little grace note there, a bluesy grace note, flat 3 going to 3, which is kind of a scale in its own right. It's often called the major blues. The B flat major blues is the same thing as G minor blues. Yeah, so we can relate it to those boxes that you may already well know on the guitar. This is often the sort of harmonic palette of this kind of stuff. Okay, so this is Tuxedo Junction. This is actually based on a B flat minor 6 sound over the dominant, or the major chord, basically. And this is a great sound. Charlie Christian used this a lot. You can hear him play things like... And Tuxedo Junction goes like this. Might well recognise it. It's one of those classic sort of 1940s things, basically. A big hit of its time. Here's Flying Home, which is a Benny Goodman classic, of course. And then there's vocal tunes as well, like the Flat Fleet Flugie, or the Flat Foot Flugie, should I say. Flat Fleet Flugie with the Floyd. Flat Fleet Flugie with the Floyd. Flat Fleet Flugie with the Floyd. Floyd joy, Floyd joy, Floyd joy, Floyd joy. Flat Fleet Flugie with the Floyd. Flat Fleet Flugie with the Floyd joy. Loudly fluty with Floyd, Floyd, Floyd Joy, Floyd Joy, Floyd Joy, Floyd Joy, and so on, right? So these songs were very much part of the popular music of the time. And although these kind of riff tunes went away a little bit with the bebop era, you still have songs with some of that riff tune energy. For instance, Dizzy Gillespie, who was a very keen dancer and loved swing music, went to the Savoy every Saturday night, wrote this, Dizzy Atmosphere, which is a bebop tune, but also a riff tune. Notice that 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. Yeah? 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. It's one of the classic sort of classic kind of cross rhythms in popular music and jazz. See if you can recognize it in a well-known pop hit of the 2010s. Anyway, that's what I wanted to talk about, melody stuff. And notice how much of this is based around very simple blues, minor sixth, kind of harmony. So these sort of simple bluesy ideas are really popular. They're not really following the changes. You can see that a little bit even in Sonny Rollins' Oli. This is where we kind of diverge a bit from this kind of classic, you know, kind of schoolbook rhythm changes that you might have come across. And the changes are often a little bit different in these earlier tunes. So, for instance, if we take Lester Leaps In, it actually goes like this. That kind of thing, right? So this is a walk up, as bass players would call it. 1, 3, 4, sharp 4, 5. We get a flat 6, 2, 5, 1, which is kind of cool. So if I put chords to that, I would put a major there on the 1, a second inversion major on the 3. You could use a minor as well, but I prefer that. You know, and then a major 6th chord on the 4, and then a diminished on a sharp 4, typical, right? Back to an inverted 1 chord. This is 1 over a 5 bass, and then let's go down in semitones from G flat 7 to F7. So the whole thing sounds like this, more like this. So that's just really extrapolating the chords, if that's not too fancy a word, taking the chords from the bass line rather than taking the bass line from the chords. And that's because in this era, it wasn't so common to improvise the bass. Even Walter Page, who was regarded as generally as being the first person to start playing walking bass lines, didn't improvise as much as the later bass players. So people were working more from the bass line than the chords. Here's another good one. This is the descending riff. This is Flying Home. Right, that's it. See, and that's also rhythm changes. It's just kind of the alternative way around from going up. Boom, 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 ba-da. It's a walk down as opposed to a walk up. And maybe if you spent any time, if you've got kids and you spend any time listening to nursery rhymes, usually against your will, or maybe you might have sung this one as a kid. But Three Little Fishies is also the same sort of thing. Diddle diddle, why don't you? Up up diddle diddle, why don't you? Up up diddle diddle, why don't you? And they swam right over the dam. Again, same sort of thing. And of course, this is a 1930s big band tune that turned into a kid's song. So talking about songs about animals, one of my favourites is a shared chord progression on bass line between It Ain't What You Do and Straighten Up and Fly Right. And it's this scalar walk down, which goes to a flat 7, A flat, keeps going down the normal major scale. And there's a 2, 5, 1, and then it goes into the walk up. With chords, it sounds like this. I absolutely love that chord progression. I could play it all day. And that's all I really wanted to say today. It's just a different approach to playing the song. It's more about what's going on in the bass and the riff that's going on in the melody. And maybe it will give you a different perspective to look at rhythm changes from. It's not complicated. We can make it complicated if we want, of course. But then we could also make the blues complicated if we want to. We can make Happy Birthday complicated if we wanted to. But the rhythm changes, when it comes right down to it, is really very, very simple. Anyway, I'll see you on the next one. Thanks for watching.